So firstly here, I'm asked to write down the value of 36 to the power of a half. Now, I'm noting here that the question is simply asking me to write down this answer. It's only worth 1 mark, so it's not going to require any sort of calculations or working out. It's going to be quite an easy question just to state the answer to. So if I'm working with a number to the power of a half, I'm thinking back to my laws of powers, and something to the power of a fraction to the power of a half is basically the same as saying that we're square rooting whatever the number that we're raising to the power of the half is. So it's the power of 1 over 2. So we're going to be square rooting this number. So square rooting 36. And that is going to leave us with an answer of 6, which is the square root of 36. So similarly here, I'm again asked to write down, so it's again not going to take any working out, the value of 23 raised to the power of 0. So here again, I'm thinking back to my laws of powers and how powers are going to work, and I'm remembering that when any number is raised to the power of 0, the answer is just going to get me 1 every time. So x to the power of 0 is always going to equal 1. So 23 to the power of 0 is going to be 1. And this is kind of just a fact that you're kind of required to remember. There's no real way of working through this and working it out. But as long as you remember that any number raised to the power of 0 is 1, then that's going to get you the mark here. So now finally, I'm asked to work out the value of 27 being raised to the power of minus 2 over 3. Now this question's worth 2 marks here, so it's going to require a bit more thought and calculation than the previous parts, because we're raising the number to a bit more of a complicated power here. So again, I'm going to start by thinking back to my laws of indices, my power laws, and working out a way of simplifying this down so that I'm not raising 27 to such a complicated power. So a way of doing this is going to be by splitting down the power. Now if I raise a power to another power, that's basically the same. I can simplify this by multiplying the 2 powers together. So for example, if we had k to the 3 and that all being raised to the power of 2, I could simplify this down to k to the 3 multiplied by 2, so k to the power of 6. Now this indice law is going to come in really useful here, because I can take this minus 2/3 and split it down into some easier to work with fractions and numbers, so that I can calculate the value of 27 to the power of minus 2 over 3. So initially here, I'm thinking that I'm going to be working with fractions which are multiples of a third. So if I were to take 27 and raise it to the power of a third, I would then have to take this whole thing and raise it to the power of minus 2, because then the minus 2 and a third would multiply together to get this power of minus 2 over 3. And then this is going to be a lot easier to work with. So if I take 27 to the power of a third, similarly to before, raising something to a power of a fraction of 1 over something, I'm just going to do the denominator as a root for 27. So this is going to be the cubed root of 27. And then I'm going to raise that to this power of minus 2, which I'm just going to carry down from the top. So here we have the cubed root of 27, and then that's going to be raised to the power of minus 2. And the cubed root of 27 is going to be 3, so 3 to the power of minus 2. Now, here I could split 3 to the power of minus 2 down even further here. So I could take this as 3 to the power of 2 and then raise that to the power of minus 1, if that makes it a little bit easier to comprehend and work with. Or I could similarly do 3 to the power of minus 1 and then all of that to the power of 2. Either way around works with questions like these. It just depends what feels a bit easier. So if I do 3 to the power of 2, that gives me 9. and that's going to be 9 to the power of -1, as I can see I've written out here. And 9 to the power of -1 is the same as taking 1 over 9. So raising something to a negative power is taking 1 over that. I could have just done this in one step, so to the power of -2 would take me down to 1 over 3 squared, and that would also get me an answer of a 9th. But either way, however works best in your mind, works well here. So the answer is going to be 1 over 9. Now, as for how the marks were awarded here, the first mark would be for working with a cubed root somewhere in your answer. So that would be how I would get the first mark. Alternatively, if you'd gone about this in a different way, it could have been working with the reciprocal, so something to the power of -1 and doing 1 over that. That would have alternatively gotten us our first mark. And then the second mark is for the correct right answer at the end of this question.